Welcome into episode number 5 of the Mavs Pulse Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Elliott, joined by my great co-host, the Grant Afseth, that's at all 82 games, doesn't miss any second of Dallas Mavericks basketball, whether it's practice, away game, interviews, traveling with the team, whatever it is, Grant is there. Grant, how are you feeling on a Tuesday where the Mavericks were not victorious? They fall to 1-3 on the season. Is it time to panic, Grant?
I don't think it's time to panic, of course. 4 games in. Definitely a lot that needs to improve, though. The worst offense production-wise in the entire NBA, and about an average defense. They beat a bad Raptors team. Not going to get easier coming up. Pacers very, very injured. Still have Pascal Siakam, and the Detroit Pistons out in Mexico City. So some interesting matchups coming up.
Well, it's still been fun to watch this team, even if we're sad and hoping why this team isn't a top 3 defense like we were sold. We were sold that going in. But in today's episode, we'll be discussing their win over the Toronto Raptors, a little bit of positivity, and then also talking about their heartbreaking loss against the Thunder, where they fought back and they were getting blown out. Then they brought it back in the fourth quarter. Who are the culprits behind all of that, and why are they 1-3 on the season? So we'll discuss all of that in today's Mavs Pulse podcast. If you want to sponsor the show, this is where we would say how great your amazing product is and why everybody should buy it. Okay, Grant, let's first start with the Thunder game that just happened. What did you see from this Thunder game that made them fall behind where they were down 20 at one point? Who were kind of the culprits of the Thunder going on that large run there in the third quarter?
Yeah, I thought in the third quarter, OKC overall scored 39 points. They were really aggressive hunting DeAngelo Russell. They were getting out in transition. Dallas was really struggling to not only contain dribble penetration with actions involving Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, knowing that they weren't going to switch those. And in those instances, when you are going to approach it that way, you have to be ready to send help. And right now they have an 18-year-old rookie, Cooper Flagg, who isn't necessarily in a position where he's got that veteran savvy with timing on those defensive rotations yet. So it's tough to rely on someone inexperienced to make those backline rotations, and other players as well, of course, weren't necessarily on a string by any means either. So just a lot of defensive stuff that needs to clean up, especially if they're going to approach coverages where they're not switching off of an MVP level player like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But also shot making was just really rough. Like, they still had 27 points in the quarter, but throughout this game, it was just really poor shooting. They shot basically 38% overall. They didn't turn the ball over a lot, actually. That's something we've talked about a ton. Nobody had more than 2.
I was looking at that throughout the whole game. I was looking at that throughout the whole game, where we saw the game where PJ had 8 turnovers, Cooper Flagg had 5, and AD had 5. And I was like, is this going to be the story all season, where they're just relying on these wings to be point guards? And if you have 5 point guards, you got no point guards. I get it. Everyone's a point guard. I get it. It sounds great in the locker room and for, a social media post. But when you see it in reality, it's like, no, you need one. So I was glad to see that the turnovers went down. Like you said, nobody had more than 2 turnovers. DeAngelo Russell, I think, is showing every game, not because of his defense, but what he can provide on the offensive side of why teams still employ point guards in this league. And I know Jason Kidd wants to be smarter than everyone else and show I did it with Giannis and I could do it with Cooper Flagg, and this is my golden child, and we're going to make him a point guard, make him uncomfortable. And I've said this before, I think it can work in different positions in the game. I think second quarter, you're getting out rebounded. You want to get big. You want to put him out there at point guard and have this big lineup. Sure. Run it for a 5-6 minute stretch, but starting games off with it, I think we got to get off of that hitch. Oklahoma City shot 46% from the field. Now, you were lucky that Oklahoma City was bricking a bunch. They were 6 of 30 from 3-point land. They couldn't save. They couldn't hit one. And Lou Dort hit 2 of those in like the first 5 minutes of the game. So if you take those away, they hit four threes the rest of the game, if you're not counting the Lou Dort 2 easy ones that we'll be doing a film breakdown. That'll be on the channel tomorrow, kind of breaking down where some easy buckets were had by Oklahoma City and kind of how things played out. But for you, Grant, kind of wrapping up the Oklahoma City talk, was there one guy on the court for Dallas that you think was the culprit behind the run the Dallas Mavericks run getting back into the game. For me, you saw Max Christie get a lot of minutes in that fourth quarter. It seems like Jason Kidd's trusting him more and more every game that he's getting to big minutes. And I have to give it to him. Hardy party. He showed up. He even had some defensive plays in there, getting in SGA's grill. He wasn't perfect, but Jaden Hardy showed that he can be that flamethrower off the bench and get up shots, and then every once in a while locking on defense.
Yeah, Jason Kidd in postgame, he basically said, when things get desperate, you got to get creative, and I guess that meant putting Jaden Hardy out there with, Max Christie, PJ Washington, AD, and DeAngelo Russell, and I thought that group, I'm not saying that's a group you need to utilize more than desperate times by any means, but I thought it was an interesting look for at least you're going to get aggressive offense. Like they're all going to be threats looking to score when the ball finds them, and they needed that being down so big. And if they compete defensively, having the urgency of, well, we're down big and we need to get a stop every time coming down the floor, they can lock in enough, I guess, and they managed to do so. So I thought that was an interesting lineup. I think overall just – in that fourth quarter too, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, keeping him off the free throw line was really interesting. He got 2 final free throw attempts very late, only 2 in the game overall. Like that's not something you really ever see a team manage to do. That was definitely an anomaly sort of outcome. So that was something I thought was really just interesting overall from that game. But just quarters 1 through 4, just really tough shooting for Dallas to put them in a position to still be close, but you just can't shoot that poorly, score 94 points, and expect to beat a team like OKC, even if they don't have guys like Jalen Williams.
If you missed it, Cooper Flagg, 31 minutes, definitely his worst game. 2 points, 2 rebounds, shot 11% from the field. He was a minus 20. Him and PJ Washington with heavy negatives. PJ in 38 minutes was a minus 17. Najee Marshall ends up being a minus 15. You got Clay at a minus 12. And then you got guys like DeAngelo Russell and Max Christie that are in the double digits. Or, DeAngelo at a plus 7. Jaden Hardy, a plus 10. And how many times have we said that? Jaden Hardy comes on the court and he's a plus. So shout out to Jaden. Max Christie to me I've been on the Max Christie train. I love seeing him getting more minutes. He was a plus 10 free. He shot 50% from the field. It just feels like Klay Thompson's role is diminishing more and more as every game goes on. Anthony Davis, even with the night where we're asking a little bit more of him defensively, still puts up 26 and 11 in his sleep. I think him and Wemby are the only players to put up 20 and 10 in every game. He's been a double-double machine. He was a plus 3 on the night, and Anthony Davis shot 10 of 16. So his efficiency hasn't been as bad as maybe I thought it was going to be. And kind of when you're watching the games, you're like, why'd you shoot that AD? That's a contested shot, but only ends up missing 6 shots on the night. You will definitely live with 62% shooting. Let's transition. The Mavericks lose that game 101-94. That was Monday night. Like we said, they made that comeback in the fourth, but it wasn't enough. Let's get into this Toronto Raptors game. This was the only win for the Dallas Mavericks in this young season, 1-3 on the season, but this was one where they looked like the offense they wanted to be, and even in moments, the defense looked to step, even though they gave up 129 points to the Raptors. Player of the game for me has got to be DeAngelo Russell. Some people were clamoring for more minutes. Some people were saying D'Lo wasn't going to be able to help, but 29 minutes, 24 points, is a plus 26 in the box score. He gives you 6 assists, 5 rebounds, only 2 turnovers. I thought D'Lo was excellent. You had Cooper Flagg with the 20 points plus and no turnovers, second youngest player only behind Kobe Bryant to do that. And then Anthony Davis, 25-10 in his sleep with 78% shooting. Who was the player of the game and kind of the catalyst for you, Grant, for why they were able to get this win over the Toronto Raptors?
Yeah, I got similar thoughts as you. I think anybody in this game, 3 players scoring 20 plus, as you mentioned. D'Lo was great off the bench. Cooper Flagg, very efficient, 22. AD, another 25 and 10 night, just a lot of production from him. But overall, I thought it was really balanced. I thought 7 players in double figures. The Mavs, as any team would, have a really great record whenever they have that many players scoring in double figures. They scored over 30 every single quarter in this game. I thought was interesting is their best period of this game, third quarter, 39-25. They were able to create an advantage, put up a lot of points. They stopped turning the ball over. They had 12 at halftime. That was a big part of why this was such a close game early. They couldn't get stops, turned it over a lot. It was 66-64. They were down at the half, but locking in on the turnovers, they discussed it at halftime, really kept it under control, and were able to create that separation. That was the pivotal moment. And I thought, the bench players, a couple of them were just really, energy guys off the bench, really created a lot of advantages. Najee Marshall, he's done that quite a bit this season so far. Even though the record hasn't necessarily translated, he's been someone that, you mentioned earlier has been a bright spot this season. I definitely agree with that. Max Christie, he ended up starting against OKC, but in this game, he came off the bench, scored 17. So when you're getting that many points overall from a couple bench guys, you got multiple guys in double figures there. 41 from D'Lo, Christie, add the 12 from Najee Marshall. That's 53 points. That was more than half of what the Mavs scored against OKC, period. So that was, compare and contrast a little bit there in the difference of balanced scoring. And that will just show you, for a team that came into the season that talked about depth, they really need that depth to perform and make a big difference whenever they're playing those better teams like OKC, but really translated against Toronto, and thought it was a good game to see. Still 20 turnovers on the night. They had a lot in garbage time, but that third quarter was really, an interesting one to see. And overall, not to get too deep into it, of course, but just assists, I thought really good ball movement game. They had 32 assists on 50 made shots. Just really efficient offensive night overall, aside from those turnovers. So that was an encouraging night. Anytime you could put up 139, obviously that's a really good performance.
And then we probably heard the AAC as loud as it's been for Cooper Flagg. He gets the poster dunk on, I'm not even going to try to say his last name. You want to try, Grant? You want to try to say his last name?
I honestly, every time it's a tough one. Mamu Kalashvili, I think.
Yes, that's just what I was going to say. So Cooper Flagg puts him on a poster, so everybody will be able to spell it soon because it'll be all over for you guys to buy. I'm sure it's already on a T-shirt. Cooper Flagg, every game feels like he's getting more and more comfortable. He's getting his feet under him. We see his games go on. He gets better now. Maybe not against the Oklahoma City Thunder, only 2 points, but that didn't happen. We're throwing that Cooper Flagg performance. We're erasing the hard drive for that one. But Cooper Flagg against the Raptors, he looked comfortable. He's pushing the ball down the pace. It felt like every time he got in and around the paint and restricted area, he was finishing. It seemed like he had the up and under, the pump fake. He had a couple dunks around the rim. We know his jumper's still coming. Sometimes it looks smooth and fluid. He'll step into it and confidently shoot it. I would say all of them feel confident. It doesn't seem like Cooper Flagg's like, oh, should I shoot this? Should I not? Sometimes it just doesn't go in. But as far as the confidence thing, I think it's good to see the 18-year-old is ready to shoot whenever. Against the Raptors, he was able to go 8 of 14 for 57% from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. So I said 2 of 5 on the season, as a per game basis. So I would like him to stay around there. You also had PJ Washington. He went 1 of 3 from 3. You didn't get a lot of 3-point volume for the game. You ended up going 10 of 26. I'm going to ask you, Grant, is this a question or is this a problem? The Toronto Raptors shoot the ball 15 more times than the Mavericks. They shoot it 100 times. The Mavericks shoot it 85 times.
I think a big part of that was the free throw differential. That was a really wild free throw game for the Mavs, 39 overall free throw attempts. I think ideally you would like them to shoot a little bit better than 74.4%. Still a pretty decent number overall. But, I thought one thing to take positive, from this game in terms of the scoring approach, just Toronto was going small a lot. Jakob Poeltl, I think, was playing through injury. He's been playing through injury early this season. And they took advantage when he was on the floor, but also when he was off the floor, Toronto was really small. And, when you're really small, you're going to play up in actions. You're going to switch. And Dallas did a great job of getting the ball inside the paint. They scored a ton of points in the paint. I think Anthony Davis, we talked about his performance, 11 of 14. He really exemplified the efficiency overall. Yeah, just looking back at it, 70 points in the paint. That was a really impressive performance. But you're right. You do want to, I think, in general, get more 3-point attempts up. 26 is pretty low. They did come out, in terms of different lineups that are more conducive to 3-point volume against Oklahoma City, get those threes up. But I thought, throughout this game, just talking about lineups was a little interesting. Anthony Davis played more at the 5 throughout this game, like in like the later quarters after starting halves. Like I thought, Derek Lively's minutes are something to keep an eye on. He played 21 in this game, mostly in that first and third quarter. And they just kind of settle into small ball more as games go on. So the reason why I find it interesting, if this roster didn't have Daniel Gafford, then, this could be a general approach, no problem. But curious to see how they handle this in terms of the minutes distribution when he's back, because you have two guys that arguably can start on a lot of teams at the 5 that both need minutes, but Anthony Davis is really efficient at the 5 as a paint scorer and just someone who connects the unit. So curious to see how this all shakes itself out, but that was a question that we had going into the season regardless.
Crazy theory. Anthony Davis is pretty good at the 5, and you got a bunch of wings out there that can spread the ball. This roster construction is going to be something that frustrates us all year. But with those 2 games in mind, let's transition to kind of our overall takeaways of what this team would be like. If you want to sponsor this is where we talk about how great your product is. Buy it. You should buy it, guys. We got you. Okay, so when it comes to, we're 4 games in now, Grant. They're 1-3. 2 of those games, they failed to score 100 points. The defense seems to be having a lack of communication on a lot of different plays. The offense, when they don't turn the ball over, can look like a competent offense and get the ball to AD on the block, or get a little bit of DHO handoffs to DeAngelo Russell and Cooper Flagg, and PJ and Najee kind of driving and being those cutters, and Max Christie and Clay spotting up. They have some good pieces to it, but overreaction of this team being 1-3, like what kind of team are we looking at for people who haven't watched a single Mavs game? How would you describe this Mavs team after 4 games?
Yeah, I think how we started this episode, you got to start there. The worst offense statistically so far, 30th in offensive rating, just really, really ugly offense so far. And that's just with the way they're picking lineups and just kind of operating, learning a new system. I don't find that too surprising. I don't think it's excusable by any means. There's a lot of bad basketball teams in the NBA, being the worst offense among them, with a player you traded. We're not going to get into the whole Luka Doncic thing, but you traded for a all-NBA first-team guy. You have him healthy. You don't have Kyrie Irving, of course, but you got plenty of talent. We heard all training camp about how deep this team is. Max Christie, not throwing him under the bus, of course, by any means. He just happened to be the one that said the comment. He felt that this is arguably the deepest team in the NBA. So this, to
and all that top 3 defense,
they have the talent to make an impact right now. So we're just not seeing it consistently.
And he said, we're going to be a top 3 defense.
Yeah, that's what a lot of them said. The goal is to be a top 3 defense. And Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, I believe both of them have felt that this, in comments, that they could be the best. So, the whole concept, internally, when this trade, in February, that little trade, not the Quentin Grimes trade, the other trade, the Shams was hack trade. The narrative inside the building was, we're going to have a dominant defense with our bigs, and we'll get enough offense from Kyrie Irving. And so right now, no Kyrie Irving, but they have at least Anthony Davis. And of course, against OKC, they didn't have Derek Lively, but they had Derek Lively for 3 of those games. We're not seeing the dominant defense yet. So that has to definitely flip. It starts with defense. That's what they've communicated all of this season so far, is how they have to dominate defensively. And there's just quite a bit of instances where there's kind of laxed in their basic default coverages. They're not necessarily locked in terms of communicating on switching assignments. They're trying to kind of lackadaisically 2.9 in the paint and basically not pay attention when they need to rotate over and help. And there's just a lot of things to clean up right now on both sides of the ball. And I think, I guess my main thing right now is just a general philosophical question. We've talked about the point guard stuff with Cooper Flagg. I don't want to obviously talk about that in depth every time I'm picking up a microphone and talking about the Mavericks. But my main question with that, my point being, is if this team's identity is going to be having Kyrie Irving at point guard, why wouldn't you want to emulate, at least as close as you can, what that identity is supposed to look like while he's out, so you at least build reps how you're going to have to defend with a smaller guard out there, and have to be able to get used to covering up that guard, or at least making specific considerations with switching, and then also offensively vaguely run similar sets and actions while having a shot creator, obviously not as talented as Kyrie Irving, but someone like a DeAngelo Russell who at least can make plays and be a threat offensively. Of course, there's ups and downs with any guard, whether shots are falling. If they're an underwhelming defender, there's going to be problems there at times. But that's my main question is, wouldn't that be better to get reps with that type of player right now while Kyrie is out so you're prepared to play when he is back?
Hey, man. Me and Grant are taking coaching positions if the Mavericks want to hire us on the staff. But that was a little breakdown of those two games. If you missed it, you can always tune into the Mavs Pulse podcast. Listen while you're driving around, watch us, whatever it is, so that when you are hanging out with your coworkers, your friends, your family, you know ball. You sound smarter. So we appreciate everyone that's been watching the videos, sharing it. I'll say if you made it this far in the video, leave a comment of something that you want me and Grant to answer in a Q&A, and we'll do a Q&A video sometime in the near future. So leave a comment on this video of what you want to be answered, Dallas Mavericks related, or I guess personal related, and we'll answer it on a future podcast. As far as some other news, tomorrow, when you're seeing this video tonight, tomorrow there will be a film breakdown video up of the against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Why they lost, why the run happened, how they were able to come back, who were the people behind it. So me and Grant will be breaking down that film for you as well. And then also just thank you guys, man. We're hoping to get into a nice professional studio, do this podcast and do film breakdowns for you guys and have some, 2 to 3 episodes a week for y'all and doing shorts and reels. So we appreciate all the love and the support. We got big things in the fortunes, but thank you guys. Shout out to Grant for taking time out of his day again to hang out with us. Like I said, all 82 games. This man does not sleep, but it comes to give us a little bit of knowledge on the Mavs Pulse podcast. So until then, you'll see me right now and you'll see us tomorrow. Deuces.